Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Ferry Project Cookery School Kitchen. It's really good to be back again. Last time, really enjoyed making a fish dish. This time, we're going to be making some turkey meatballs and make it really summery and herby. Just for those of you that haven't seen us before, we're based in Wisbech in Cambridgeshire, and we are a homeless charity, but we also have a cookery school. So the idea is we teach the clients how to cook, so they've got that life skill to go into the community and hopefully then look after themselves, but also we teach them, give them some work experience, food hygiene training, and so on. We also get involved in community projects, so we do one at the moment here and in another town in the Fens called One Pot Wonders, where we're teaching over 65s about cooking and nutrition all in one pot. And we also do private classes, so we have an Eventbrite page. If you go to our website, you can have a look at all the events we do. So Saturday, for example, we were making pizzas in our wood-fired oven. So we do so many different things. But today we're going to make a turkey meatball dish. So turkey, high in protein, low in fat, and we're going to really jazz them up by adding lots of herbs and broad beans and make it really sort of summery and light. So the first thing I need to do is make my meatballs. And so to do that, I'm going to put into my bowl some turkey mince. I'm actually using turkey meatballs hold together a little bit better. And into that, I'm going to add some bread that I've soaked in a tiny, tiny amount of milk. And that's because it really adds a lot of moisture. I want these to be quite light. I don't want it to be quite heavy. And there are so many ways you can make meatballs. You can add egg to help the egg then coagulates and holds the meatballs together. Or you don't have to add egg at all. You can just add bread. I'm actually going to add egg as well, but I'm also going to really jazz them up with a lot of fresh herbs and seasoning. So in here, I've put my turkey mince and my bread that's been soaking in milk, and I'm going to add some egg as well to really hold them together. And also it's increasing protein content and other nutrients such as iron, for example, in the egg yolk. And then I've got lots of fresh parsley, which I've just picked from our herb patch outside. The clients have also been involved in growing a herb patch and planting vegetables, and the vegetable patch looks amazing at the moment. It's almost a shame to dig things up, but we've been eating the strawberries. Leaves, and because we've got plenty of it out there, I'm also going to put some oregano in as well. So the oregano doesn't really need chopping. It's good if you can just rip your herbs because you get a bigger surface area because it's jagged. If you use a knife, you get the straight. Parsley and my sage, and I'm going to use most of. I just get rid of them there. If they're really thick and woody, then I wouldn't use them. But they're quite tender. They've only just been picked. And quite the younger bits of the parsley. So I'm just chopping all that up and get that into the minced meat. And I'm going to put in plenty of pepper and then a little bit of salt just to lift the flavour a bit. And then this is the messy bit, so get your hands in. When you make meatballs, whether you're doing, so sometimes I do a mix of beef and lamb mince and then adding lots of spices such as paprika and cumin, turmeric, that sort of thing. It's just you get a much better blend through if you put your hand in. I know some people don't really like it. I find it quite therapeutic. So we just mix that up really well. Make sure the bread is really pushed through the whole mixture, because you don't want to munch into a meatball and find that it's a big mouthful of bread. Obviously, you could jazz this up even more. You could put in things like chopped chilli if you like a bit of heat in there. But my aim for this was to keep it sort of light and summery and lots of herbs. So what we're going to do now is form this into meatballs. I don't want to do them too big because they'll take a long time to cook. I'm just popping them into a pan where I've put some oil. So just roughly form them. It's always a bit stickier when you use turkey mince. And we put an egg in there as well. But as I say, I don't always use egg when I make meatballs. It just depends what the outcome of the dish is that I want. Okay, so we'll get them frying. Turn my pan up a bit. We're just going to partially fry them off. And then we're going to lift them out and make the sauce. So that's them in there. I'm just going to rinse my hands. Turn this off a bit. I did have it on before I started, so I can just hear they're just starting to sizzle. Right, we'll get those frying off. In a minute, you'll hear the sizzle. Just see them starting to. And all I'm going to do is just turn them over, so let them cook for a little bit on that side, turn them over, just to firm them off really, so that when I then put them back into the sauce that we're going to make, that they're going to sit in, they don't just all break into pieces. They have started that egg coagulation and started to firm up a little bit. And also to give them a nice outer coating where they've started to cook off. And right, we can start turning them. So lovely green herby flecks in there. And I'm just going to check my oven as well, because in the oven we're going to serve this on a slice of toasted sourdough bread with some vegetables as well. So we'll get these going, get the sauce going, and then serve it all up on a slice of sourdough. So it's sizzling away nicely now. Let's give it another minute. I'll bring the sauce things over. So to make this nice and summery, I'm going to use broad beans. Now, in the original recipe, when I wrote this recipe, because we do use this quite a lot in some of our community projects, we were using frozen broad beans, but obviously it's broad bean season now, June sort of through to about September. It is fresh broad bean season, so I'm using fresh broad beans today. And I want the finish to look green and summery. So we're going to put some peas in and plenty of herbs, and we're going to use bulgur wheat as the base. Right, these are going well now. Okay, so I've nearly browned them off all over. You know, they don't need to be cooked all the way through. They can go back into the sauce and finish off cooking. So what I'm going to do, just turn that one over. I'm going to start lifting them out onto the plate, and then I can use this pan to make the bulgur wheat base, and then I can put them back in so they carry on cooking. And then we get that flavour in there as well. And skew over. Try and get the meatballs all the same size when you make the meatballs. Don't think, oh, I'm going to make a massive humdinger one for me and everyone else can have small ones. Obviously, then we have the issues where the large ones are not cooked and the small ones are only cooked. Make sure they're all roughly the same size. Right, I'm going to turn that down a bit. And what we're going to do now is get in there some chopped garlic and some onions. So I'm just going to roughly chop my garlic. If you really want to use a crusher, you can. We'll get that frying off. Just need to make sure my pan's not too hot. I don't want to caramelise, burn the garlic. Okay, so we'll get the garlic in there. Got that softening down. And I'm going to dice an onion. So when you dice an onion, find the root section, which is this one, the hairy bit I call it. This is the stalk, so I'm just going to get rid of the stalk, and I'm going to cut it horizontally through that root. So I've got a bit of root on each side, which is going to hold the onion together, and then I'm going to peel it. Much easier to peel it after you've cut it in half. I always say that, and then it's always a nightmare to peel. But it's much easier to peel half than try and wrestle with a whole onion. Get your fingers under the peel. I think that bit doesn't want to come off. Right, so now I want a nice dice. Don't want it too big. I envisage what you want your dish to look like at the end, and there's no set way. You have your dish how you want to have it. And so I'm going to go horizontally, but I'm not going right through. I'm keeping this root end, just holding it all together. And then I'm going to use the point of my knife and just make cuts. I always call it chips, but it's sort of the length bit that we're doing now. And then I'm going to go sideways. And this is where you can decide whether you want big chunks of onion in it or smaller chunks of onion in it. I'm going to go at about this size because I want the onion all the way through. I don't want great big chunks of it. And then just trim around the root so you don't waste all that onion. That can go in the pan. Just using the meat residue, that bit where there's little tiny crusty bits of meat on the bottom is great because that's going to add loads more flavour. And just do this half of the onion. Quite a big onion. If you only wanted to use half the onion, then that's fine. And get that in. That's fine. I might add a little bit more oil in there. Okay, so that's sizzling well. So we're just going to get that softened down a little bit. And then we'll start building the base of it and adding other things into it. And getting the flavours all balanced. And there's tiny little bits of meatballs still in the pan that have just fallen off. Absolutely fine. It'll add loads more flavour, so that's good. And the next thing that we're going to add is we're going to add in some bulgur wheat. So this is really good stuff, really good store cupboard, standby grain that you can use it a bit like couscous. So you could use couscous in this if you want. And the other thing that works really well in this is orzo as well. But really nice things to have in your cupboard. So I'm going to add that in. Let's give that a bit of stir around. I'm going to add in my broad beans because they're fresh broad beans. They just take a little bit longer than canned or frozen broad beans. So I've got those in there as well. And then I've got some chicken stock to go in. That bulgur wheat is going to soak up some of this liquid. I don't want it really liquidy. That's not the end finish I want. I want it to be fairly not dry, but the bulgur wheat to stand out a little bit, almost like a sort of a pilafy rice finish to it, but bulgur wheat. So that's just going to be cooking away. And what I'm going to do next is add back in my meatballs so that they're cooking in that liquid and taking on the flavour, but they're also releasing some of their flavour into the liquid as well. So we're just going to pop those back in. Just get that simmering away. I'm not going to add my peas till the end because they won't take very long. Okay. So that's my meatballs back in. I'm just going to wash my hands. And then the next thing that we can do is add in our herbs. And I've got 3 different herbs that I'm going to put in. So I've got some mint, so nice and refreshing. So these I only picked these from our vegetable patch about 20 minutes ago. really lovely and fresh. Got some parsley, there's some more mint there. Just take those leaves off. And then if you remember, the meatballs have got sage and oregano in there, and a little bit of parsley, and then the base bulgur wheat is going to have all this mint and parsley. So I'm just going to get rid of any, if any of the stalks are a bit thick and woody, just get rid of those. Make sure this is not getting too overexcited. So, and I'm be, generous with the herbs. I want it to have that power of herbs and summer and freshness. So I'm just going to bundle them all up and just want them to really run through the dish really well. So I'm doing fairly small dice, not too minute. Right, I'll sprinkle some of those in. I've got to be careful when I stir that I don't break up the meatballs because they're still cooking through. Turn while I stir in the herbs, just to make sure everything's getting covered. And I'm going to have to just keep an eye on my liquid levels as well, because I'm using quite a big pan with a big surface area, so a lot of the steam is escaping. So if need be, I can add in a little bit more liquid if it's getting a bit too dry. At the moment, it's absolutely fine. Smells amazing. Okay, and already I'm loving all the green colourings. Just going to sprinkle a bit more in and just let it cook. And then while that's cooking, we're going to prep some vegetables to go with it. I'm going to check my toasted bread. That's fine. So I've got a pan here. I'm just going to swap this pan over. Because I'm going to serve alongside this some sprouting broccoli and some baby carrots, but I'm going to pan fry them off. So I have boiled some carrots and some sprouting broccoli. I just literally put that into the carrots for the last 30 seconds just to soften it down a little bit. And I'm going to cook off some garlic because I want there to be some texture to this dish. So I'm going to fry off some garlic. So in my pan, I've got a little bit of oil and a little bit of butter. And the reason for that is because if you just use butter, the butter's likely to burn. So if you add in a little bit of oil as well, that helps to stop the butter from burning. The butter gives it that nice flavour. You don't have to put the butter in there. If you just want to use oil, that's fine. Just use it. And I'm just using sunflower oil, so vegetable oil, sunflower oil, something like that. Just chop up that garlic. Get that cooking off in that butter. I'm also just keeping an eye on my meatballs. Bring it back up again. And so I've got my sprouting broccoli here, which is par cooked. And I've got my carrots that I've also par cooked. And I mean, you could, any carrots, baby carrots, chantenay carrots, whatever carrots you like, but I've kept mine, so I've cut them in half lengthways, just because I think they're going to look nicer like that. And so that's sizzling nicely now, so I'm going to add in my carrots. Just get those frying off a little bit. This one. I just want a little bit of coloration on them, not too much. A little bit of coloration. And we'll give them a minute or two, and then we're going to add in the broccoli. And the other thing that I've got to go in there is I'm adding another herb in here, thyme, because I want all this herb going on. So I'll put that in as well. So this is thyme. It's on a stalk. I don't want so all you have to do is run your fingers down, and the leaves come off. And you can put them in. The thyme is just starting to flower, but that's fine. You can use the flowers. Actually, the flowers are going to look nice. I might save that bit for garnish at the end. A bit more of that in. Just makes such a difference just adding a few herbs. And I'm just going to have a little look at my meatballs, just check they're okay, they're doing nicely. So it's just starting to thicken off, that bulgur wheat. And in a second, I'm going to add my peas in as well. I might add a little bit more water in a minute. So they're cooking quite nicely now. So I'm going to now start to add in my sprouting broccoli into this pan as well and just get that almost toasting off. It's quite long, I don't want it too long. Save those. And then the other thing I've done to go into this dish is I've got pine nuts. I have to use pine nuts. You could introduce differently. I mean, nice. I've just toasted these just in a dry pan. I've just very carefully just pan-fried a few. So, but I just want that extra texture. I want that crunchiness as well. So I'm going to add a few in here, but I'm going to save quite a few to actually sprinkle across the top when I serve the dish up. But this is sizzling really well now. I'll probably give it a little bit of seasoning. A little bit of pepper, just a little bit of salt. And while that's just finishing frying off, I'm going to just have a check on the meatballs. So I'm going to add the peas now to the meatballs. Put those in. Another lovely green colour to it. And I'm going to just add in a little bit. Actually, no, I'm going to leave that as it is. Right, these are going nicely now. Turn it over. Broccoli's just starting to sear a little bit, which is what I want. And carrots. These carrots are so lovely and sweet as well. And they're just starting to turn on there. So what I need to do is just check that meatball mixture, give it a little taste, and make sure my seasoning's right. Doesn't need any salt. Stock is often salty, so you often don't need to add more salt. I'm going to add some pepper. Stir around. Oh, it tastes really good. Okay, so we're nearly ready to plate it up. So all these things here, I've deliberately kept. I might add a bit more time to this one. A few more sprigs of this in. And then I'm keeping all this for garnish. And we're about ready to dish up. Check my meatballs are cooked. I'm just going to change, cut them in half. Yep, that's better. And so I need my sourdough, so I'm just going to move my board out of the way. And while I'm just waiting for that to just finish off, just reduce it down a little bit more, those meatballs another minute. I'll just show you this book. So Fairy Project, we've written a book. It's got 40 recipes in it. This recipe is actually in this book as well. And it goes through the 4 seasons, and it's almost the story of the Fairy Project. So we've got spring, autumn, summer, winter, and in each chapter we've got 10 recipes. From Brussels sprout and cheddar soup to blackberry and almond bread and butter pudding made with croissants, to a red pepper soup, all sorts of things in there. It is available on Amazon and Waterstones. If you just put my name, Alison Crouch, in, it will bring up the book. And every time you buy a copy of this book, the Fairy Project charity gets the money. So it'd be really great if a few people could. And there's a hard copy and there's a soft copy. The soft copy is $17.99. Hard copy is $24.99. But it all goes to the charity, so it is a good cause. Right, let's get this dished up. I'm just going to turn my carrot way down. And in here, I've got a toasted sourdough slice of bread. You don't have to serve it on sourdough. You could serve it with some really crispy potatoes. You don't need a lot of carbohydrate with it. It's got the bulgur wheat, so it's already got some carbohydrate in there. That is now the consistency that I want. Let's pull it off there. So I'm just going to put, my cookie doesn't like it because I've put something on that thing. Meatballs on here. And I really want to make sure I get some of this lovely green to it as well. Oh, all in there. That. And then I'm going to put on, I might just put a couple of carrots, just let them sit where they feel comfy. And look at that lovely colour already, beautiful. And a little bit of sprouting broccoli. Bulgur wheat round the edge, just to make sure we've got some extra sauce on there. And then we're going to finish it off with, make sure we see that sprouting broccoli, with some more pine nuts. So we're going to sprinkle a few pine nuts, don't go mad, just to give it that extra crunch and texture. And let's have a thyme leaf on the top. And a few herbs just sprinkled around. And so we've got a lovely dish of turkey meatballs, really herby turkey meatballs with some sprouting broccoli and carrots and broad beans and peas in there. Lots of summery flavours, light, colourful, summery, and really delicious. So yeah, have a go at making it, and look us up on our website, so ferryproject.org.uk. Thank you for watching.